Several months after we got married, I would have told you that I was stuck in an unhappy marriage.
Well, I want to know how you feel.
Feel about what?
What would make you happier?
I suppose if you were happy.
No, talk about you.
Thankfully, we were committed to continue counseling even after the wedding. Probably one of the hardest things I had to face in counseling is when I complained about Russ, something that was clearly his fault, yet the therapist would work more with me than with Russ.
But have you seen couples that are worse off than us? Yeah? Or are we that far gone? Where you're going to put a numerical value on it, you know, Doc, like a 1 to 10, 1 being worse, 10 being best. Now, hang on one second. Where would you put us?
Have you ever felt dismissed when you've brought up a complaint? It sends a message that your experience is inaccurate or invalid. So how do you process this type of experience? Stay tuned and I'll give you the goods. Hi, my name is Danielle West, and my husband and I help couples repair marital strife to get more out of life. For the best marriage advice, hit the thumbs up if you're excited about this video. Subscribe to our channel and hit the bell to be notified when we post a new video every week. For someone who prided themselves on how self-aware I was, it was quite humbling to notice how much further I had to go doing my inner work. Brene Brown is a researcher and author who has extensively studied topics such as vulnerability, shame, courage, and empathy. When it comes to self-awareness, Brown emphasizes it's important in leading a fulfilling life. According to Brown, self-awareness is the ability to understand one's own emotions, values, and motivations, and how they influence behavior. She believes that developing self-awareness requires the courage to look inward, to examine our thoughts and feelings honestly without judgment. Brown also emphasizes that self-awareness is a critical component of building resilience and developing empathy. When we are aware of our own emotions, we are better able to regulate them and communicate effectively with others. We also become more attuned to the emotions of others, which can help us form deeper connections and foster meaningful relationships. In her book, The Gifts of Imperfection, Brown writes that self-awareness is a journey rather than a destination, and that it requires ongoing practice and reflection. She encourages readers to be curious and compassionate towards themselves and to embrace vulnerability as a key part of the process of self-discovery. Had I not done this self-discovery work on how I process difficult emotions, all of our conflict would continue to be Russ's fault. You might be thinking, what's wrong with that? Do you have the courage to look inward? Comment below.
Someday you're going to have to come up with the courage to admit you care.
In order to gain insight into our own thoughts and feelings, we need to be honest with ourselves about what we're experiencing. This means acknowledging our fears, insecurities, and vulnerabilities, even if they make us uncomfortable. And this is where we see couples get stopped in their tracks. One or both are unable or not willing to look inward. Looking inward can lead to personal growth and change, but it requires us to be open to new ideas and perspectives. This means being willing to challenge our assumptions and beliefs, and being receptive to feedback from others. But what keeps us stuck is we have a natural tendency to seek out information that confirms our existing beliefs and opinions, while ignoring or discounting information that contradicts them. And this can make it difficult to objectively evaluate our own behavior, as we may unconsciously filter out information that challenges our self-image. This definitely happened to me. Here's a real-life example. Russ and I would attend a party, and it felt like he would drop me off at the door, and he was off to connect with everyone else. Most of the time, I didn't have the same relationships, much less the history in these type of parties. It was like being an observer at a party versus being a participant. After the party, on the drive home, I would tell him how miserable it was feeling ignored all night. I would blame him, and he would fight back, denying he was purposely ignoring me. I would push until he would apologize. There's nothing you could have told me in those conversations where I would have taken responsibility for any of my feelings. Russ was 100% at fault. Well, That was until I learned about emotional wounds. Oh boy, this is where it gets hard. Identifying emotional wounds can be a difficult process as they can be buried deep within our subconscious and may be difficult to access. But we have found one little trick that might work for you. If you know your top relational need, like encouragement, security, belonging, attention, then the opposite might be your emotional wound. I was fortunate to identify my emotional wound through counseling, but we have found an association between relational needs and emotional wounds that might work for you. For example, my top relational need is attention. My emotional wounding from childhood is being ignored, the exact opposite of my relational need. So how does this all address the feeling of being ignored at the party? Here's a clue to look for. Your intense feelings are most likely more about you than your spouse.
Even so, just to help me, please say it.
I can't now. It wouldn't mean anything.
Why not?
I'd only be saying it because you asked me to say it.
I don't mind.
This is childish, Grace.
Say it!
Why are you doing this? Why are you making everything into a problem? This isn't anything to do with me. This is your problem.
When you have a 10 reaction to a 2 circumstance, feeling ignored at the party for me felt like a 10. For others without my emotional wounding, it may be closer to a 2, a 3, or a 4. When I feel that level of a 10 now, I know it's more about me than what my spouse might have done or not done.
This is one time. You're not going to get away with twisting everything that I say, April. This just happens to be one time. I know I'm not in the wrong here.
After doing my work to understand my triggers and my emotional wounding, I can now share with Russ after the party how difficult it was to contribute to conversations that were all about the good old times and football. I tell him my level of hurt is more about what's inside of me, and immediately he is compassionate and empathetic.
It's not your fault.
He knows I hate this wounding and the triggers it brings me, but he also doesn't feel blamed anymore. Does this make sense? If it doesn't, be sure to let me know in the comments. And if you'd like to learn more about your relational needs, send me an email and I'll send you the resource to help you identify them. My email address is in the description below. I can't imagine where we would have been if we had not done the work on identifying our emotional wounds. We take responsibility and own our junk. After mentoring hundreds of couples, we walk them through a similar process to help them identify their wounding and see breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough. Allow me to read one of our testimonials of working with a couple. Michelle says, "My husband and I were disconnected when it came to how to parent our children. We were both hurting that we weren't on the same page. Our break-free VIP session with Danielle and Russ were eye-opening on many levels. But mainly for me, that 2 things can be true, meaning each of us have our own truth about an event. I noticed my inability to see this beforehand. Ouch. Our sessions taught us to get to the why of our individual triggers, which stem from deeper, more painful wounds or expectations, and how to communicate through that effectively together. I believe understanding more about my husband's wounds has made me more empathetic and understanding as to why he does the things he does and thinks the way he thinks. No doubt, the sessions are hard. For days after, it was emotional for me. But the truth is, aren't all things really worth doing exceptionally hard? Marriage is work, and I'm grateful that Danielle and Russ helped us work on ours. If you're in an unhappy marriage and you've tried counseling and feeling like you're at the end of your rope, allow us to redirect you on a path that has given many couples a reconnection they thought was lost. Simply email me. My address is in the description below. And remember, to have an extraordinary marriage, be intentional. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.